It's Movie Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Helmut Kremling.
And this is It's Movie Time.
Movie Time. Buongiorno, John.
Oh, it's wonderful. I'm thinking of Italy, and you and I saw a small film as we would do this time of year because it's so difficult to find really good movies. Helmut and I saw a film called Spring. And what's that about, Helmut, in a few words?
Well, it's an indie, and the directors, Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, the writing-directing team, who will probably soon be mentioned in the same paragraph with the Coen brothers, I think,
Oh, yeah.
appropriately, because it's this offbeat, sometimes containing violent humor. Takes place in Italy,
Yeah.
so that must mean romance.
Right, the Eastern Coast. All right.
The Eastern Coast. It's a village called.
Is
you have the name
Bari or?
Well, it's called Polignano a Mare
Okay.
in Bari, Apulia province,
Okay.
on the back heel of the Italian boot. I wanted to ask you. You're planning an Italian trip. Is that going to be on your itinerary?
Unfortunately, no. We're motoring in northern Italy because you bet I looked it up. This village is so beautiful, antique and romantic.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a young man, disaffected, gone just on the spur of the moment. Things have gone poorly here. He's gone to Italy on a lark, and he meets a very lovely young woman there.
But before he meets her, there's an opening scene in the film, which I'd like to ask you about. What did you think about the opening scene with his mother?
Oh, yes. I felt that it established a desperate mood. That here's somebody who needs love, losing love, because I think he's lost his father as well.
He's an orphan now, right?
He's an orphan, to establish how quickly he falls in with a beautiful young woman when he goes to Italy. It's perfect. It's central casting. He needs that. He needs her. So to me, it helps establish the urgency that comes on with the romance. Yes, and it's a dark opening.
But also what he says to his mother, I don't remember the exact words, but they're lovely, they're poetic, they're meaningful,
Yeah.
and they are not what you'd expect of a young rowdy, but he turns out not to be a young rowdy. He's dropped out of college.
Yeah.
I think so. He's actually quite educated, although that's not quite clear.
Yeah, yeah. And he has gotten into a fist fight that has made him just go on the lam, trying to avoid the police. So he's there. He's in Italy. What's romantic about this? Or maybe I should ask this, Helmut, what is Spring? That's the title. I mean, to me, not a great title, but it is Spring.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the title, but there is a conversation with his love interest. By the way, the two relatively unknown actors are they're called Evan and Louise in the film. Evan is played by Lou Taylor Pucci.
Right.
He is actually an Italian name.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah. And Louise, who's supposed to be the Italian young woman, is a German actress by the name of Nadia Hilker.
Well, don't you think she's less Italian and more world?
Yeah, she more world or otherworldly.
Right, exactly.
She is off the beaten track as the setting of this film.
Now, Helmut is much more cautious than I, but I'm going to jump in here and say this is touted as a horror film. Would you agree that it is?
Well, it bends the genre somewhat.
It sure
and
does.
if it's a horror film, okay, let's say I agree with you, but then it's the most romantic horror film I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most romantic films I've ever seen. You know, when you say a film in Italy that takes place in Italy, post-World War, post-Mussolini, it's almost redundant to say it's romantic.
That's
You
right.
can come up with your early films, Roman Holiday, La Dolce Vita, and then you have Eat, Pray, Love, then you have Letters to Juliet.
Good ones.
We can come up with a list, if we had time, a list of about 15 films
Great.
that are very romantic, and they all take place in Italy.
They do.
I mean, you're going to fall in love in Italy once again.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I could bring my love with me. What do you think? Anyway, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I will fall in love with the towns for sure. But that what's interesting to me too. I've been on the East Coast in Brindisi, and it is not the most romantic part, except the cities that they found.
Yeah.
Because you rarely hear anybody going on to that eastern part of the long boot.
Right.
And
It's the Adriatic. It's not the Mediterranean.
correct.
So it's
Yeah.
so I think that maybe the water isn't quite as attractive.
Right.
And the village is a little bit rough. I don't think they have 4-star restaurants in that village.
But it is looks like an archaeologist's dream,
Yeah.
which fits very well with the forces that are at play here on this, which are partly a reflection of the turmoil within him, but the connection that he has with her. Strangely, Helmut, she wants to go to bed with him the minute she meets him.
Yeah,
This
it's a sexual reversal, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
He abandons his rowdy Brit friends.
Right.
Fortunately, we're just drinkers and carousers.
Yes.
And he and she, Louise and Evan,
Right.
they lock eyes,
Yes.
and it's almost magical. And she is beautiful, seductive, and they almost circle each other. They almost do a visual dance. And he asks her for a date.
Yes. He would rather have a date than go to bed with her right away.
Right.
Interesting turn.
And she says, "Well, no, I don't know about a date, but what about going to bed?"
Right. Right.
And we admire him.
Yes.
He turns her down. He opts for romance and a long-term
Yes,
relationship.
And we have to be coy here about the plot, because there is a reason why she wants to bed him immediately, which
Right.
is, as you would say, just a complete reversal of the romantic trope. And there is a reason which we will see a little bit later, and it has to do with the supernatural, horrific part of the film, which don't let us dissuade you from seeing this film. If you're a person who doesn't like horror films, please don't worry about it, because this is, as Helmut said, a supremely romantic movie, one of the most romantic you'll ever see. And the genius is that these two directors and the one of them who wrote it, Benson, have taken the genre and they've reworked it to make it palatable for those of us who aren't necessarily interested in slasher movies or any horror films.
Right. They were best known before Spring for the film Resolution, and that really is more of a horror film.
Okay.
This one is, you said, the romance, I think, is even stronger than the horror, and in addition, there's bizarre humor in this film.
Yes.
I really found moments of comic moments.
And don't you think too that as you look at conventional romance, it really works very well, because they have challenges of getting together. He is being persistent. I mean, she has a particular agenda, and he just breaks that down to get her to come to him. And it's difficult. It's not easy. Then when the turning points of the film come, and we stand back in shock or whatever, he still is persistent. And so there's something about the difficulty of love and romance that it comments on when it gets past the requirements of the genre.
They make a connection that is visceral. It's almost as if their DNA, and their DNA really is mixed. I'm not sure I'm giving away too much.
No, good for you. Yeah.
But they are now tied together.
Oh, right.
In many respects.
And,
and something else that creates this romantic, positive feel, despite the fact that she wants to reject him, is he after she rejects his offer of a date, he needs a place to stay, so he seeks employment. And he
Oh, right.
He finds employment with an olive farmer called Angelo,
Oh, good one.
excellently played by Francesco Carneluti,
Oh, yeah.
excellent actor, who endearingly is mourning in a very touching, moving way his wife who has passed away quite a while ago. And he continues to love his wife in a religious, honorable way. And I think that the young man, Evan, is impressed by this.
And such a very nice counterbalance to the passion of the young people's love is the wisdom of this old man, who now and then gives him some very fine advice.
He's a guiding. He's a mentor.
Look, you know, there are parts of this film that remind me of Richard Linklater's Before Sunrise, After and so on. The two characters, Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy, walking down the streets of Paris or wherever they are, talking. And it so reminds you that at the non-horrific, romantic part of this film, yeah, I'm reminded of that love, which has so much to do with conversation in the Linklater films.
And the conversations are interesting.
Yes.
These are not conversations from Shades of Grey.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm tempted to bring more about that horrible movie into this.
But, right, there's a real horror film.
But you know, these two young people are starstruck lovers. And who are the most famous Italian starstruck lovers?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Well,
I would say Romeo and Juliet would be.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
But this Juliet marches to a different drummer.
So, Helmut, here we are, rhapsodic. We must be two romantics talking about this film. These old guys who talk about these young people. But we, as educators, have to award a grade to this. I'm going to ask you.
You're coming to a grade already?
I am, because we are really going strong here, and this is only
I wanted to mention the metaphor of the spider and the fly.
Oh my God! You
of the grafting of the trees.
We don't have time.
Because the two people are grafted together.
Very good.
Well,
of
okay,
course. Yeah. And you are quite right. If we went back, we could take another hour on this show.
Yeah.
But I do need to hear your grade. Helmut Kremling. The name of the film is Spring. The grade you award is?
It ends with a love scene, sunrise. In the distance, we have a Mount Vesuvius erupting.
Look at him. He refuses to give me the grade until he gets out.
And I'm tempted to give the film an A, but I'm going to add a minus because there are bunnies that are sacrificed. It is Easter.
Yes.
It is Easter time after all.
Yeah.
So just an A minus, but I love this film.
And it is Easter time, and I'm feeling very generous because there's such lousy films out there. It gets a solid A from me.
Good. I'm glad you do that.